This video is being recorded during the WGA and SAG strike. I'm in support of all writers and actors asking for fair pay. These TV shows would not be possible without their hard work. A way to donate to their cause is in the description below. Hello everyone, welcome back to Flying Solo with Kat, and today I have the absolute pleasure of talking about episode 6. He's back, guys. He's back. Also, just to say really quickly, there are spoilers in this video. Go watch the episode. I don't know what you're doing if you haven't watched it yet. It's a very good episode, so go see that. And I'm going to get into a couple of things that I know, and I'm also very much a casual fan. So I've seen Thrawn in Rebels, but I have not read any of the Thrawn books or read any of the comics that he shows up in. So please bear with me as I talk about just this episode in particular and what I know about Thrawn and what he's like. So first, I do want to talk about Ahsoka and Huyang. They only showed up in this episode for like a total of maybe 2 minutes, which I kind of loved. I think we spent a lot of time with Ahsoka last episode, and I think her arc for that section was concluded, and I really wanted to see more of Baylan, Shin-Hati, and Sabine. So I was very happy that it was only her and Huyang, but I loved her little comment about her favorite parts of the beginning of the galaxy, 1, 2, and 3. And of course, people were like, that's a little nod to the OT, and everyone's favorite is the original, the first one, which could also be the prequels as well. So, people were a little salty about that. But I just thought it was a really cute comment that Dave kind of put in. And Huyang starting off with a story saying a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, which was just, it was really special that they did that. It didn't feel like canned or honed in or like, oh, they just did it because LOL, they did the thing that is in the opening crawl of Star Wars movies. It really did kind of just make me happy to kind of just see that, and that you really are living in this world, and it really made me enjoy that little thing. Of course, I really wanted to hear kind of one of the stories about certain things, but of course Dave kind of teased us a bit. He was like, hey, you guys are getting the Acolyte in I don't know when, but it's coming, so just hold on till that. But I found that was very, very fun. So then we get back to Sabine being captured, and she's in this holding cell, and how she keeps bringing up like, oh, where's Ezra? They haven't arrived at the moment yet. And Baylan just kind of keeps telling her like, well, you have my word, you won't be harmed. And Sabine, like, holds so much onto that. I mean, she did all of this because he said that, right? She could have just destroyed the galaxy, and she wants to make sure that she's going to get what she needed to and get the job done. So I found that her, depending deeply on Baylan's word is very interesting, and how much trust she, has to have in him. And I found that very, very cool. Peridia is the first planet that we see in this new galaxy, and why I don't understand why I think I've heard of that before. I think it's a very basic name, so it could just be a planet that I've heard of before but not connect the dots. I don't understand. But Peridia, and it's a whale graveyard. It was pretty creepy seeing the whale, the Purgle bones like in around the planet, and I found that really, really interesting, and just already gave like an eerie vibe to the planet and what we were going to do here, which completely made sense. We get to see 3 mothers, the Night Sisters, which I'm already so happy about. I knew Dave was going to develop more on the Night Sisters and what that was, but I really didn't know how deep that was going to go and how much he was going to get into it for the casual audience. And I'm so glad that he just jumps right into it and says, nope, there's witches in Star Wars, and it's always been witches. And I am happy to see that most people are running with it, that some people are not like, what, oh my god, there's witches now in Star Wars. Like, no, there's, you know, it makes a lot of sense. There was always dark magic. And that's what I like about Star Wars as a sci-fi property as well, is that it does so well with the sci-fi tendencies, but it also jumps into the fantasy realm with magic and dark magic, and how that dark magic that the Night Sisters do have and the Sister Order is not the Force. Like, I love that. And I feel like you would get that in a, galaxy that has so many different things, and even with the Force and all of that, why wouldn't you have dark magic? And it doesn't seem like, for me, I'm not a huge fan of fantasy. I think it's very canned and just kind of is the same story retold many, many times. Now, of course, that's just my experience. But when you mix sci-fi and fantasy, I think you get a really, really good quality of really the story and the galaxy that they're trying to build. And I really, really liked that, and which is very, very exciting. Sabine's trapped, I guess. Or she was captured by the Night Sisters. I loved her face when they said it reeks of Jedi, and she was like, no, it doesn't. I don't know what you're thinking. But so I love that Sabine just still doesn't really have that much confidence in herself as a Force user, and that's totally Ahsoka's fault. That is completely Ahsoka's fault. And I think that was really important to show, and I loved her face there. It's one of my favorite reaction images that has come to recent Star Wars. So that was really, really, really exciting. Um, and I loved Balin's monologue where he talks about the cycles and how just it repeats itself over and over again. You had the Jedi Order, then the Empire, then the New Republic, then the First Order. And I really like that, because that's like the whole point of these stories, and why, I hate when people complain about the sequel trilogy saying First Order's Empire 2.0. It's like, that's the point. You're missing the point. Like, that's the whole reason, because the New Republic was not a stable government, even though they were trying to be. And they put themselves on a high pedestal saying, oh, well, we're not the Empire. We're doing so much for people, and you could do whatever you want. But also, nothing will get done, because it has to be voted in, and it has to be done the right way. And many of the people that have money are still loyal to the Empire. So a lot of the shady dealings that are going on are still for the Empire and the, what that group supported. So for the First Order to just be Empire 2.0 and people complain about that, that's like the whole point. You're missing a major point into why the sequels are even purposeful. And people could argue that point too. It's like, well, Disney was just trying to do blah, blah, blah. I don't care about like the real life connotations of why the sequel trilogy was made. I look into where the galaxy is at the time of the sequel trilogy. And I love that Dave is also looking at that too with Ahsoka and with Mandalorian, that we feel like we're truly getting really, really good stuff of what happened after Return of the Jedi. Because if you remember back at Return of the Jedi, I went back and watched a couple interviews with Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, and a couple with Harrison Ford at that time. And, people were asking, well, what's next? Are we going to have a 5, 6, and 7, or or a 4, 5, 6, and then a 7, 8, 9, right? Like, what's gonna happen there? And then they said, well, it's gonna be the prequels and all that, which takes place before, but there was no talk about the sequels. I think George had an idea for the sequels, but I don't really think it was as fleshed out. I think he wanted to focus more on the before than the after, which is completely valid. And kind of every writer kind of wants to do that. They don't want to do much of, as someone that does do writing, they don't want to focus as much on the aftermath, because you feel like you gave your characters a pretty decent conclusion. You want to focus on the before, flesh out those characters a bit more, or even flesh out new characters that also translates to your original characters. And I think that George, that was kind of his main focus there. So I kind of lost my point, but Balin's whole monologue with Shin Hati about the beginning and new cycles is really, really important, and I'm glad that they put that in there. Thrawn Star Destroyer, the Chimera, oh my god, I was just like giddy the entire time getting to see that in live action. It just looks beautiful. I missed Star Destroyers. I think we got a glimpse of a Star Destroyer in Endor. Yeah, we did. We got a glimpse of a Star Destroyer in Endor, but it wasn't the main focus. I've missed Star Destroyers. I think I started to lose interest in Star Destroyers and how crazy they were going to get in The Last Jedi. I wasn't a huge fan of the Supremacy. I think it's a cool concept, but I would have preferred more a planet based operation than a ship based operation. I was a huge fan, or I am still a huge fan, of the Finalizer and what that starship was, that Star Destroyer. And the Supremacy is okay for what it does and what it holds, and it makes a lot of sense. Then you get into the Rise of Skywalker and all of that, and those Star Destroyers aren't as interesting to me. You know, they all have planet-killing weapons, but I want to know like the ins and outs of them, and you know all of that, and have the more simpler Star Destroyer. But anyway, the Chimera is just beautiful, and she's still like, I loved how they even showed that it was kind of run down and beat up, and you know it took a lot of damage from the Purgles, but it was still up and running, and it was a full force to be reckoned with, and I loved that. The Stormtrooper armor that was destroyed, taped up, you know, very dirty. I loved that. I don't know how much I miss Stormtroopers. Like, it's kind of crazy because I mean, we saw a couple of them in Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I never really felt anything for them, and we were more focused on the Inquisitors. But just seeing this, like, whole entire, you know, bay filled with stormtroopers just chanting Thrawn was just absolutely amazing. And I loved that entrance of him walking in. Lars Mikkelsen just does an amazing job for what he brings to Thrawn. And his voice is just beautiful. And, you know, people making those comments towards him and towards Thrawn's appearance is just really shady. And, of course, you're not going to have a animated character look exactly like live action, and also like people age. I don't understand why people always have to point that out. I think that it's I understand from like a comedy standpoint, like, oh, LOL, like, you know, it's not the Thrawn that we know, but I think in the end, like they're really trying to like make it good for people, and I think people just need to kind of take it at face value and not be like, oh, well, you know, he doesn't look like how he did in Rebels. Well, yeah, it's been like 30 years, dude. Like, Rebels literally takes place, like, with, you know, the first Death Star and the second. Like, it's been a while, okay? So that really made me mad. But he looked amazing, and I love him, and I think it was really, really, really well done for what it was. I loved Sabine's journey. I also kind of wish that Sabine and Thrawn had a more. I thought Thrawn was hiding something, but I legitimately, now looking back at the episode, I think he had no idea where Ezra was. I think that Thrawn sent stormtroopers out to find Ezra, and they came back either dead or, you know, did not come back at all, or came back without finding him. And I think after all these years, I think Ezra has evaded Thrawn. So that's why I think, honestly, Thrawn let her go and basically said, you know, it's not worth it. You know, I'm just going to let you go, but, you know, you will probably end up being trapped here anyway because of your decision not finding him or not wanting to join me and my, you know, empire. And I think that was really interesting. And I think that he's interested to see if Thrawn or if Ezra will actually come back with Sabine or if they're going to be lost. So I don't think he was underestimating them. I think he just didn't have a plan for finding Ezra, and he was looking for Ezra. So since Sabine was there, he was like, no, you know what? Go ahead and find him if you're not back. You know, it's no problem for me. If you are back, I'll deal with it. Right? So I think it will be interesting, you know, of who will come back and who will not. which is a bit scary, but I think it will be quite interesting. Enoch, which is the stormtrooper with the gold faceplate, just want to mention him real quick. Oh my god, literally amazing character design. I don't know why I was getting Phasma vibes. I think because Phasma created like her own armor from one of the Palpatine shuttles, but it was just like really really cool to see different stormtroopers and not just see that like blank face, that they were all a bit different and all had a little thing. I am fully in support of the zombie stormtrooper thing with the Night Sisters Dark Magic. I am in full support. I want to see some zombies be released on some of these planets. Like, imagine the First Order actually comes into power and actually gets some of the old Outer Rim planets because of zombies. Like, how cool is that? Like, I've always loved the First Order, but I would love them even more if it had zombies. And also, I think that's where Dave's going with it because of the comment of that they're loading the catacombs, like loading items from the catacombs. Like, I'm pretty sure, and also how they mentioned that this used to be a Night Sister, temple and whatever, and now they're all reduced to dust. No, I'm sorry. I'm positive that there's going to be a Night Sister battle against the Mandalorians and just completely, like, we're going to have zombie and there's going to be zombies, and I'm so excited for it. Like, people that were going like, that's not really Star Wars. Like, for one, there's a Legends book that goes into zombified stormtroopers. Secondly, we've seen it in actually many comics of, Night Sisters using their dark magic to, reanimate the dead. Also in Clone Wars, that happens as well. And also in Jedi Fallen Order? Yeah. I don't think it happens in Jedi Survivor, but I think Jedi Fallen Order we fight some peeps. I haven't fully played that game, but I'm very excited for it, and I think that's going to be amazing. And I'm really just excited to see where they take Thrawn. I don't know where it's going to lead, but I think it will be good. So that's on that. I'm going to end it off with just Ezra and Sabine meeting was just really, really sweet, and how they hugged and everything, and also just Sabine's journey towards there with the little dog. That was so like sweet. And also like the turtle crab people, I can't remember what they're called, but literally the cutest things on the planet. And I love that we see more aliens and see these people of this planet, and we get to see that type of thing. And I also like Balin and Shin Hati, coming together with the not bounty hunters, with the people that are like collecting stuff. I don't know, I blanked on the word, but very, very cool. Sabine and Ezra's meetup was just really, really sweet, and how they hugged and everything. And damn, Ezra kind of looked good. So I'm vibing with the beard. And I think that was actually pretty good and pretty well done. I am a bit concerned, though, that Sabine did not tell Ezra that she might have just brought Thrawn back to the galaxy because of her selfishness. And she's like, I just want to, be in the moment. Sabine, you need to tell Ezra, like, right now, because if you don't, Thrawn is going to tell him, or Ahsoka, and he's going to be like, oh, he's going to be so mad at you. So watch out for that. And I don't know how that's going to go. I hope it's not like a breakup scene. Like, I don't ship them, by the way. But I hope it's not like that, to where Ezra's like, I can't believe you, Sabine. And then he gets, like, angry. Like, that's so dumb. And I think that it's also cheap as well. I think it would be important for Ezra to hear Sabine out, and for Sabine to explain why she did it. And then Ezra and her team up against Thrawn, with Ahsoka. So I hope it doesn't come to that, but we shall see where it goes. I'm gonna read off a couple tweets that I saw from this week, and a lot of them were actually very, very good. I was very excited. And let's see, the first one is by @FlyingGrayson. Major Ahsoka spoilers. It did work, didn't it? End quote. That boy left his galaxy behind, not knowing if the rebellion won or if even his family survived. On his own, outnumbered 1,000 to 1 with out his lightsaber. He found a community of weirdos and protected them. That's my Ezra. Absolutely. The fact that Ezra was staying with the really cute creatures, the turtle crabs, and he was helping them pack up and doing all of that. That's Ezra. The Ezra we met in season 1 is not the Ezra we meet at the end, and that's so him trying to help these creatures, keep moving and being there as a support, but also him just leaving and then adapting to his situation. That's so Kanan, but also that's Ezra. And that totally gets passed on. And I found that was really, really good analysis. At JTIM Suggs says, in just one episode, Lars Mikkelsen proved just how perfect his casting is for Grand Admiral Thrawn. He brought all of the intimidation, stature, and intelligence that has made the character so iconic in Star Wars in just 30 minutes in live action. Truly legendary. When I first saw Thrawn, or even the Chimera, it was one of the... I was smiling the entire time. I was like, he is back. He's here. I was so happy, and I think it was such a good entrance that he had, and it was really that great. From the same guy, another tweet that he said is, I can't explain it, but the Empire's reliance on cloning several different contingency plans and dark magic to retake the galaxy feels like something straight out of the 90s, and I'm so here for it. I love when Star Wars gets scary. I need more of this. Oh, totally. I'm so hyped for zombies. Please be stormtrooper zombies. I do not care if people are angry. I don't care what it does to the entire story. I just need zombie stormtroopers, and I think it might be the best thing put to screen in Star Wars. And I say that every episode, but I truly do think that zombie Star Wars is where it's at. At Cantino1234 says, this may be a hot take, but I like getting shows that don't explain everything to casuals and are for fans who have watched all the shows and read the novels. I love how they act like we're supposed to know what things are. If you want to know what Night Sisters are, watch the Clone Wars. I think this is good and bad. I actually completely agree with him in the sense that I understand watching a show to watch the show, but also I think that I don't like when shows dumb it down for me, who at least know some semblance of it. One example, I watched all the Harry Potter films. I'm really not into the fandom. I don't know what works, what doesn't, what houses are what. I've watched it and I like it, but it's not my main fandom and I'm not really into it. But when I watched Fantastic Beasts, I got the premise of it. I didn't need to know everything and anything, and it didn't really truly explain itself, and I found that was okay, and I found it actually quite enjoyable. The first one, the second one was okay, but to me, I don't like when TV shows explain something to me. If people want to know who the Night Sisters are or whatever, I think that will also be explained, and Dave Filoni will explain that, but at the same time, if you truly do want to know more, go watch the Clone Wars. Or, watch Rebels with Maul and all of that. The whole premise of these shows is to get you to watch their other shows. That's the whole point. That's a huge marketing point. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, good for you. But also don't just be like, well, I don't understand this. I don't understand that. Look it up. Do some reading. Wikipedia. I will say it every single time. Wikipedia has been a lifesaver for me. Writing fan fiction for one, but also just learning a bit more, especially for these types of episodes or even my character analysis episodes. In my first episode, the General Hux one, I had to go on Wikipedia and check a couple of dates and a couple of things because I was not confident in my ability to, completely get the dates right. And yeah, I was wrong on a couple of them, but I researched it and I made myself aware of that. And I think people just need to start doing that and do some research. And rant from at Jordan Mason says, imagine that Grogu witnessed Ahsoka leaving the galaxy, which timing wise would actually make Carson Teva's insistence on the new threat in Mando season 3 make more sense. So when Ahsoka was passing through on the Purgle in Mando season 3, in like the first episode, they're passing through and they see the Purgle, or Grogu sees the Purgles in when they're traveling through hyperspace, and he kind of like reaches his hand out and touches the glass. Everyone's been theorizing that that Purgle was actually transporting Ahsoka to the new galaxy, and they were just passing by, and Grogu could sense her with the Force. It would, timeline wise, that would actually make so much sense. And I think, honestly, I think we were supposed to get that out of it. I think that was kind of the whole point. And I love that. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I really hope that it is true and that it happens. But that is going to be end of the tweets. If you have any thoughts on Ahsoka and want to be featured in the podcast, just at me and send it to me, and that's all I could say. Or make a really, really good point, and I'll see it and I'll screenshot it. So also do that too and interact with the Ahsoka talk that goes on every week. I don't know what I'm going to do when Ahsoka ends. I think it's going to be quiet for a while. Of course, with the SAG and WGA in talks again, trying to get fair pay with these greedy companies, I'm hoping that it's, I don't have to start my videos with it being recorded during the WGA and SAG strike. I really, I don't like doing that. I want to support my fellow writers and my fellow actors, but I shouldn't need to do that. And I want these people to know that their jobs might not be taken away or underpaid for their services. So I do hope that the strikes will end and we have a future after Ahsoka, but for right now, it's not looking too great. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. Really hope you enjoyed episode 6, and I will see you